Hey, I got a good video for you called Omega. Want to show you this real quick. Revelations 22 and 13. 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3 equals 8. 2 and 2 equals 4. That's your 4-8. The Great Eclipse 2024. You remember 2017 eclipse went this way. This eclipse is going that way, crossing through Illinois in Texas. So you gotta watch Texas this year. This is 7 years, people. Now I'm finna show you what Omega is about. Stay tuned.
And the storm that's causing this is about to lock us into a strange weather pattern for the rest of the month. It's called the Omega Block, and its effect on temperature, precipitation, and severe weather is substantial. In this video, I'm going to explain what that means for you and what you can do to better prepare for it. What kicks all of this into motion is a pesky low pressure center. This thing is what's responsible for all that heavy snow up around Michigan, but it will soon make the entire Northeast cold and dreary. This is going to last for the remainder of this week and probably even longer than that. Here's a view from a little higher.
Please keep watching.
In the atmosphere. Notice the big blob of colder air associated with the storm. You see how it's not really moving? Now, keep that in mind and let's look over here at the West Coast. There's another storm developing with another cold blob attached to it. This one is going to bring chilly temperatures and unsettled weather to California this week. And look at this thing, it's not really moving either. Now, what's really interesting is what's happening in between these two blue blobs. An area of high pressure and warmer temperatures will start building between these two low pressure centers, increasing in intensity over time. So that brings us back to the Omega Block. The reason we call it this is because the pattern will take on a shape that looks like the Greek letter Omega. And let me tell
It's written he's the Alpha and Omega.
you, this Omega Block is going to be a mega block for storms. What's happening here is basically the opposite of what happens in a trough. We are getting warm, stable air traveling northward through the ridge. And if you were to take a three-dimensional look at this phenomenon, it would look like a giant wall in the middle of the US. And this wall in particular is going to be huge. Watch how it stays in this position for days upon days. It just doesn't want to budge. It's pretty much taking a big old nap here in the middle of the US, and
Remember, he beat up Pharaoh with the weather.
there's nothing we can daggone do about it until it decides to skedaddle. And while these events aren't exactly rare, this specific instance of the Omega Block is more intense than usual, so it's probably going to hang around for a little while longer than usual. And since this thing acts like a giant wall, it's going to try its best to block any and all storms from penetrating the central US. But keep in mind, most of our weather here in the US travels from west to east, so the wall will kind of absorb the impact of these storms on the west side and then shield the east from all the moisture. This is going to lead to a lot of the central and eastern US seeing less storms than usual, but it may actually amplify the storm activity along and south of the wall, where some of the residual moisture may try and sneak below or under the block. Ultimately, this thing is going to rock our weather patterns for the foreseeable future. And the three main things that this is going to impact are temperature, precipitation, and severe weather. So let's break each of those things down on a monthly outlook basis. Here's how I think temperatures are going to look for the rest of this month. Our Omega Block is going to keep temperatures below normal on the sides of the country, while much above average temperatures will dominate the central US. The cold air is going to be most pronounced on the east coast towards the beginning of the month, and it will become more intense on the west coast as we go into the latter half of the month. But over the next few weeks, places like Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota will feature extended warmer than average temperatures, so enjoy that while it lasts. Once again, this area of high pressure that's allowing for these warm temperatures to build up will deflect storm systems that are trying to come in from the west. And once again, this will actually keep a lot of that moisture from penetrating the central plains into the Midwest. However, the energy will not just disappear. It will splatter up and down the ridge and slip around the bottom of the Omega Block, bringing several rounds of rain and storms to whoever ends up in the path. And that brings me to the precipitation outlook for May. And this one's pretty simple. It's going to be wetter west of the storm wall and drier to the east.
And you never thought to think, how are they able to predict the weather that far ahead if Earth was spinning 1,000 miles per hour? Whew! Wake up. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's the truth.